Popular Hot Rodding, my car was on the cover with a 66 Chevelle called Goldenrod, Farmer's Goldenrod, it said on the door, and it had a blown big block Chevy in it, and it was tubbed, had center lines on it, and 2 other cars. At the top of the issue, it says Pro Street, and it says something below that. But anyway, in the article, it says, we see a new trend developing in the hot rodding world. We're going to call it Pro Street. Yeah. We feel that these cars exemplify that look.
Yeah.
And so, for me, I have the first car that was described as those words. And most importantly, I say, have you seen the words Pro Street written prior to that article?
Yeah.
Okay. I will post that online. It's like I didn't even post it.
Really?
Somebody directly below it says, I think Grumpy Jenkins had the first Pro Street car. I mean, it's just like, come on.
Because he drove it in the street sometime. Hey, welcome to Car Guy Confessions, brought to you by ARP. I'm Jeff Smith. This is my car buddy Cam Benty and car builder Steve Strope, and we're going to tell you some stories. We're at the Grand National Roadster show. Our buddy...
somebody.
That's Steve. That's Steve.
So
I'm
many
trying.
friends.
Just can it?
Gave us this place to shoot from,
Yep.
and some fantastic cars. I have to admit that, I mean, literally got here, they shoved me in this seat. I saw your car outside though.
Which one?
And it was like the Speedster.
You got to see the brown.
No, you
got
need to see the brown car.
Oh, well, see, I know just a little bit about that thing. And, I mean, not the one that you built, but the one they built in the beginning back in the 30s.
Ford's, right?
For Edsel Ford's car. So, I mean, that's the only thing I've seen. You know, and then they dragged me in here, bolted me in the chair, and we're going. So I have to go out and kind of investigate a little bit.
See, and so you have
Well, okay. So, anyway... Thank these guys from the Grand National Roadster Show for helping us out with this, and Kevin Doyle especially for making this all work.
Yep.
I went to my first big show when I was 11 and still opening my eyes, and my uncle took me to big rod runs and custom shows and that was the first big street machine show. And it's like, well, these people are crazy. It was Street Machine National Days.
It was.
Nuts.
Was that the one with the dogs?
Nuts. No, that was Indianapolis.
This is where?
This was St. Louis.
Yeah, I never went to Indy.
East St. Louis.
Yeah,
East St.
I was
Louis.
14 that year.
Oh my God, I'm surprised you survived because
Lovely neighborhood.
That was there was one way in and out of that place.
I was a kid, so
everything.
My dad always told me to eat up because fat kids are harder to steal, so I was safe. I didn't fit in a trunk very well. It's weird. You do TV for people that kind of do automotive TV, but they're not 100% car people. Why does it take you so long to get that car straight?
Yeah.
And that studio, it was the Power Block. It's now Power Nation. So it's how-to based.
Yeah. Right.
So not every show, like the four-wheel drive show, Ian would take his stuff to the off-road parks and stuff. But like some of the muscle car shows and the trucks, if they filmed a commercial, because that's how they were paid ads, basically.
Right.
Hey, we're putting in this power window system. If they nailed it on the driver's side, that car may never get power windows in the other side because it was a prop car.
Yeah.
So we were one of the first shows out of the 5 that was going on there then that actually tearing it all down, new wiring, new everything, new this. And when I showed up, they said 2 weeks. I go, you guys are out of your mind.
Yeah.
And then they built my studio in the warehouse.
Really?
Miller Welders gives us 6 welders. Yeah. We've got one welder plug. Nobody thought this through. We're handing the welder back and forth.
Wow.
The air compressor could not keep up because all the studios had their own little compressors. Ours, we had a small compressor, but we'd bring in 12 guys every week and running all this air tools.
But you have 2 cars here today, one in contention for America's Most Beautiful Roadster, and one in contention for the Al Slonaker Award.
Right, and we tend to do stupid things like that.
Yes.
I mean,
way to overload yourself.
Because Amber is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It's
I mean,
huge.
Steve can tell you, like when we started this, and you're growing up, and you're growing your business, and you look up to things like Riddler and Amber.
Sure.
And Amber is one of those things that when you're starting out, you don't even know if you'll ever be able to be in that arena.
Yeah.
Even in the building.
Even in the building. And the first time I did it, it was just the most awestruck, amazing things. I did it with my own car, which is owner funded, owner built, which is unheard of.
Yes.
And that was in 2007. Steve actually helped me on that because he was also, we were both relatively new as businesses.
we were.
As businesses.
Yep, as businesses.
And he's like, you're trying to do this thing for Amber, and you're just a regular guy like me. He's like, I'll come over and help you.
Yeah, I brought
his whole
employees
crew,
over and we helped him.
And I still haven't paid him for that, but that was 2007. So
yeah, there's
I think he forgot. Hopefully he forgot. But sorry, not to get sidetracked, but that is such a huge deal. And now I was thinking about it the other day, and we've done Amber like 7 times now, I believe.
Wow.
So I was thinking, like, does that make us like the greatest Amber builder of all time, or the biggest loser of all time because we only won once? You know,
here, use this.
Right? But we don't call it losing; we call it it's runner up. You know?
Yeah, well, but just to be in the selection process, right?
Yeah, and I mean that is you know, you have to really keep a clear head on this kind of stuff, because I always tell customers, they're like, "Oh, my car is so nice, I want to put an Amber." Like, whoa, we're going to take a relationship of years that we've had a positive, exciting, fun, creative relationship, and then there's a possibility if you get caught up in the competition, you're gonna put a dark cloud on our journey. So I always explain that to them, like, if you'll go to Amber with the idea that you're going to get a jacket and a cool parking spot, and that's all you expect, I'm in.
Yeah.
But if you get caught up in the competition, I don't want to be part of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's hard to keep a straight head, because, I mean, you get proud of what you do.
Sure.
You know, but you also have to be reasonable with your expectations.
And I've never been a part of any of this stuff, but the thing, what got me into one of the things that got me into cars was the fact that I could do drag racing, and if that guy beats me, okay, it's an objective situation. He went quicker than I did. He got there first. He wins. But this is more subjective.
It is.
This is like the ballet people or like the skaters, where the Russian judge goes, "Oh, she was a 2," and the American judge gives her a 10. It's like, well, wait a minute. So and I don't. And you're a judge this year.
There's a lot of things I want to back up on with Troy, because Troy and I have interesting trajectories of what we did, and stepping backwards, and I'll go right to where you're talking about in a second. It's so interesting when you said we didn't even know if we'd ever be in the room.
Yeah.
And then for the last bunch of years, we both have booths here. Yeah. And we're doing interviews here.
Yeah.
And we're talking to magazine editors here. And I know you share this. It's so surreal, because I remember the 18-year-old me in Appalachian, New York, couldn't wait for my new issue of Hot Rod to come out. Yeah. And to know all the names, and these guys are still walking around here, and we know them, and we meet them, we say hi to them, and I go to the room at night, and there's lots of times I'm all psyched because they dug the car, and the other hand, it's like, wow, it's so crazy who I hang out with and who I talk to and who bothers wanting to talk to me, and I know you parallel me in that, because you're from the same kind of. I read the books, and when you were telling me in your background before you started your shop, he actually had a real corporate world job and was excellent at it. Yeah. And he would come in with his briefcase and have Hot Rod magazine in his briefcase.
What's so crazy about what you just said is, again, thinking that we'd never be in the room. So I'm reading about guys like Pete Shaporis, Roy Brizio, guys like that. And Roy Brizio has always kind of been my kind of mentor in this, because he's such a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
You will not find anyone that has a bad word to say about him. And I always wanted to be that guy.
That guy.
So like, you're looking up to these guys, and not only did we get in the room and got in the building, after a while, these guys are my contemporaries. They think we're equal. I don't think we're equal. I don't think we're equal, but
sure, because they've been there first.
We always develop like a backstory in a way, or a plausibility. We like, and Steve does it too, like a plausible story. Like, we'll build a 32 Roadster with European specs as if it would have raced at Surrey, at the racetrack in Surrey, Brooklands. And you put that story together, and then if you can execute that throughout, and that's what we're talking about, you can't leave something out.
Right.
We always talk about every piece of the car is a piece of art in itself that works together for the greater good. And that's how we describe it. And you could see one of these cars, and there's a bunch here of like contenders in Amber and the Sloniker that you go, oh my God, that car is great. You walk in, like, but my eye just saw that. And like, that doesn't belong.
It doesn't fit.
Right.
And
it's got to be a cohesive package.
And some of that is subjective, but some of it is objective where like sometimes it stands out where no matter who you are, you can see that maybe that doesn't match. But yeah, the subjective part, that's interesting that because we've moved this show, like AMBR, from what they used to do, or like what Riddler does, is they do it's a points-based thing. And they try to make it mathematical,
more objective,
right?
Yeah.
And in the end, it ends up discrediting the show a little bit, or the award, because we build for aesthetic and design and beauty, and that was lost.
What he's politely saying is you'll build a gaudy piece of shit that's got 8 million modifications because you get a point for every
each,
modification.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not about taste.
Okay.
It's not about execution of style or a theme.
Yeah.
It's about as many mods and as many chromed this and as many this and that to rack up points in the little selection box.
Okay.
And that is what we try to differ here, and this is where I was going to swing back around. We were talking about judging. Troy has been a judge. I've been a judge. I'm currently judging a class that he's in, oddly enough. So he could start kissing my ass right now.
and the $100 bills will start traveling around.
Swing that over. So, but it's and we judge this way. We look for the quality of the work, of course, and the difficulty of execution. Not to sound Olympic tumbling about it, but there's difficulty of execution.
Sure, absolutely.
And there's fit and finish, no duh, all the way everywhere. Is the paint super perfect all the way up in the crack where you can't even see?
Right.
Jim was always, he did restorations earlier, but that was always about what you did wrong. Everything you did was judged on wrong. You got the wrong light bulb and the wrong date coded light bulb in the glove box. It's like, this is crazy. Went to Catholic school, nuns, everything's about rules. No more rules. We got to get back to just having fun. So we started just doing it in the collision and kind of, and like everybody, you built your car, you sold it, tried it again and sold it. Probably lost money on every one, but you still love doing it.
Sure.
And finally in about 2007, somebody saw us and asked us to build that reactor car. Was our first really car we did. And that's kind of the nutshell how the Ring Brothers started. And just followed the passion.
Shazam, the most memories with that one.
The 57.
Yeah,
that was an awesome car.
I got a story I've told before where my dad.
Tell it again.
My dad goes, hey, because my dad was on this thing where people were going, hey, he makes trailer queens. My dad's, I'm going to show them, right? So the infamous trip with Baskerville, Luma Coupe, and then my dad followed it up with, he said, hey, we're going to take the week off. We're going to drive Zoom to Good Guys, Indy.
At Indy, okay. So cross country.
And then basically off of Carter, we all just took
Spun
the
off,
blends and the butterscotch blends and the tequila sunrise blends and the magentas and the candy blues and all that clean linear work, we were talking, Jeff and I were talking earlier, you could take a Carter job from the 70s and put it in this show today, and you know what?
And people would be
it
impressed.
still works.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
We're not talking about skulls and tribals and stencil work and texture. Guys today are getting way over textured. Everything's got to have patterns and textures, every color. No, you know what? Do a little thumbprint or do a little fish scale, but it doesn't have to be every color, man, And so that's why I admire about Billy's stuff and his stuff and Dick's and Baca and Billy B. There's a lot of heroes in my life that just 25, 30-year-old paint schemes.
Yep. Hey, we'd like to thank our sponsor, ARP-bolts.com. We got a fantastic little backdrop here. They make an outstanding series of bolts, almost anything you would need for engines, chassis, things like that. In fact, we were at lunch today, and a guy asked you about the bolt on the back of your shirt, and and I said, well, it's really about a head bolt. They neck the stem down of the bolt on a small block Chevy head bolt, so the clamp load is even across 3 different head bolt lengths on a small block Chevy. And, so that's the kind of technology that you get out of ARP. And we've all got stories on all that stuff.
For a translation of what he said, call ARPbolts.com.
but the message is that you can't get any better than that.
No, you cannot.
There you go.
Nope.
Excellent.
And then just check them out at ARP-bolts.com. We'd like to thank our friends at InTheGarageMedia.com. They have 3 fantastic magazines. They've got Classic Truck Performance, they have Modern Rotting, and my favorite, All Chevy Performance with Nick, my buddy Nick,
you're
the
so
editor.
biased.
So
Correct.
yes, of course.
Yes.
But they're doing print media, which
Yes.
is of course our favorite. So
Tangible
color and
magazine.
everything.
in color and everything, and you can get your car on the cover of one of those books, which is
Right.
a
Now
fun
that's a
deal.
lot.
Great
Yeah.
tech,
Great
written
tech.
by you
know,
and others
not always
that are
written by me, but
famous
yeah,
people.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
always written by me.
That's right.
Just
So
pick it
check
up and
them out
read it.
at InTheGarageMedia.com, and they're our friends, and they will thank you.
So anyway, he knocks on Deanna's office door and he pokes his head in the door, and the secretary's there, and he goes, "Hey, doll, how you doing?"
Oh my God!
Right. And she kind of looks at him like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
is
right?
this guy?
She goes, he goes, "Is John here?" And she goes, "Can I ask him who's here?" And he goes, "Tell him Jeff Scazzarro's here." And all you hear from the back room is, "Who?"
Your nose is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
I don't know no Jeff Scazzaro. Who the hell is that?
Oh my God! I shouldn't have worn my sandals today. I should have worn my boots.
Hey, if that ain't the truth, hey, if that ain't the truth, may we have pink hot dogs at $100 today? Okay.
Oh my!
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong.
Did he make you a rock star?
Oh, look at me today.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
you go.
There you
That's
go.
right.
I got my
All
grandson Jaden here. He's
still
all proud of
working.
his papa, man.
You're
You know.
still working in retirement years, thanks.
Yeah,
to
I know.
who
Well,
now?
you're living in a motorhome. I live by the beach. So okay. So. And I think the motorhome was rented. I'm not sure. Go ahead. Your turn.
You're doing fine on your own. Go ahead. You're
is not
doing
an
fine on your own.
This is a roast. That's what this is. This is
No,
what
really,
this is. It's a
seriously.
mutual roast.
They probably don't remember all the really, I'm serious now, the incredible work and the jobs and high-end people you dealt with. Drop some names and do some stuff.
I painted Eddie Van Halen's first professional paint job on his wild, crazy red and white crapola.
Yeah.
Because a protege of mine back then went high school friends with him. And he was bugging me to come up to Pasadena to see his buddy's high school band. It was called Mammoth. I'm not driving to Pasadena from Orange County to see some high school band. You know. So then he says, my buddy can't afford it. Would you paint his guitar? I've been bragging about you paint his guitar. He spray painted his. He wants one like it. Bring him down. Little long-haired, skinny kid, don't know from nothing. Didn't recall the name, you know. So it's all this zigzaggy stuff, and we're all looking at it like, oh my, like this. Hey, you know. And he brought his Frankenstein guitar. It looked like a junkyard guitar, you know. And he wanted it done real polite, real quiet, real polite. So we painted it in just a matter of like an hour. You know? Zim, zam, boom, done lacquer, clear coat it. Here you go. Be careful with it.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, following year or so, 2 years, I'm in the grocery store. And I'm going down with my wife, and I see on the magazine stand, Eddie Van Halen, the new rock guitar.
Yeah.
My guitar.
That's my guitar.
That's what I painted.
Cars that we thought were just dumb as rocks
Right.
back when we were in high school are now cool.
Yep.
And why is that? Well, it's because the oversaturation of, you know, me doing Chevelle stories for a million years, but that, you know, everybody's done that. It's like the guy that says, I want to build, you know, so he builds this great 69 Camaro, red 69 Camaro. And it's like, and so you ask the question, why'd you do that? Oh, I wanted something different. What?
Never seen one of those.
Never seen one of those before, or a red 32 Ford.
Yeah,
You know,
there you
so, but at the same time, it's like, okay, so now all of a sudden the, you know, wagons and El Caminos and,
Yep.
and just, or people building fandom cars altogether, you know.
And it's, you know, it's always been, you know, wheels, tires, and stance, you know, wheels and stance, and it still is. And
Yes.
and you're seeing a lot of cars come out with just still a wicked stance. I mean, they're getting lower and lower, but they're still drivable. And like I said, we're seeing those steely look wheels coming back. And like you said, you know,
Yeah.
you look back at an old picture with a simple car like that's a day 2 resto, and you go, that is so cool.
Yeah.
You look at a Tri-5 Chevy that's done now, and it's stunning. And you look at a Tri-5 Chevy that might have been done 30 years ago, and it's really nice, but it almost looks crude compared to what you see now.
Yep.
But yet it's the same look. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it's just smoother. It just looks better.
Yeah.
And that's a function of imagination, modern tools, modern materials.
And execution.
Oh,
and execution.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can execute that throughout, I mean, and that's what we're talking about. You
Everything.
can't leave something out.
Right.
We always talk about every piece of the car is a piece of art in itself that works together for the greater good. And that's how we describe it. And you could see one of these cars, and there's a bunch here of like contenders in amber and the Sloniker that you go, oh my God, that car is great. You walk in like, but my eye just saw that. And like, that doesn't belong.
It doesn't fit.
Right.
Yeah. And
It's got to be a cohesive package.
And some of that is subjective, but some of it is objective. Where like sometimes it stands out where no matter who you are, you can see that maybe that doesn't match. But yeah, the subjective part, that's interesting that because we've moved this show, like Amber, from what they used to do, or like what Riddler does, is they do it's a points-based thing, and they try to make it mathematical,
it more objective,
right?
Yeah.
And in the end, it ends up discrediting the show a little bit, or the award, because we build for aesthetic and design and beauty, and that was lost.
What he's politely saying is you'll build a gaudy piece of shit that's got 8 million modifications because you get a point for every modification.
So that's not an Amber project. Is not something that you approach lightly. That's a pretty serious operation.
Well, it is, and the truth is, I didn't really have that in mind when I built it. I just wanted to build the car I built. You know? And that's the car I wanted, and I did. I've been thinking about it for a long time, so I kind of knew what I wanted, pretty close. And it actually went back probably to when I was in school. I think I first got the seeds of it back then, because my dad was a Chrysler guy. Plymouth more. And they ran torsion bars. So, torsion bars. So, so this was, and I thought, and I've always kind of wanted to build a car with torsion bars. And that is kind of started the idea that's why the name of the car is the Champ Deuce. Because it's like, I wanted to, you notice the wheels, those are real Indy car wheels on that car. They're not new ones. They're old ones. I'm probably 40 years old.
From the 50s?
Yeah, 50s and early 60s. Yeah, they started using that wheel. And they're 18s and 16s. 16s on the front, 18s in the back. But so this whole Indy car, could we build an Indy car influenced car, but still make it a traditional roadster? That's where it kind of started. And so on about,
which is it's a weird eclectic sort of blend.
It is,
of two different types of avenues.
It is, but Indy I was a Indy car nut when I was in school, because and my uncle, my great uncle, was the first chief of tech at Indy.
Really?
Yeah. And
what was his name? Oh, okay. It's not important.
My dad told him.
Chief of Tech for how many years?
No, he started that. He was the first one.
Wow.
And I don't know how long he did it, because he died before I never knew him.
Okay.
But I did meet his daughters, and I went up and and visited them quite a bit.
Wow. So you have a direct.
That was my connection.
Indy.
That's what. Yeah. That was the spark.
Okay.
The Indy thing. That's what.
That's great.
So I started going to Indy after when I could. And I I'm a big fan, and I got a shout out to Jackie Howerton out there on there for inspiration, because when I got to Indy, I met Jackie right away. And so he at that time he was kind of tired of racing. He wants to talk about hot rods. So I was the hot rodder and he was the racer, and so he told me about, we were talking about racing and I was talking about hot rodding. And it was just a great relationship. And so that was all part of the formation of this idea on this car. It's got a Dodge 1956 Dodge Hemi.
Okay, it's a Hemi.
Yes, Dodge Hemi. It started out as a 315 cubic inch motor.
Which is really tiny, big engines, but a tiny displacement.
Well, no, the Dodge is pretty small. That's why I chose a Dodge, because it fits in a Deuce pretty dang nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then I stroked it. It's a 355.
Okay.
And then I cast some aluminum heads for it, because nobody makes parts for those things.
So you cast your own cylinder heads?
Cast my own cylinder heads.
Whoa!
Cast a water pump riser.
Wow.
Yeah, I cast a water pump riser to get the fan up where it needs to be on those things, because I'd done that at Vintage Air.
Okay.
We did that for the Chevys, but did it for the Dodge, and we started working on it about 6.5 years ago in earnest.
So let's talk a little bit about you cast your own cylinder head. Not everybody does that.
Well, I know, it's one of those things where you go down an alley and all of a sudden you realize there's no exit from the alley.
It's a dead end,
It's
right?
a dead end. And that's kind of what happened, It's like, okay, I want aluminum heads while I'm talking to everybody. Nobody's got any. So, okay, well, we'd been doing casting at Vintage Air for a while, so it wasn't like new. And so, I drew up prints. I used the original in 15, the 315 and 325.
So we'd like to thank our sponsor, ARP and ARP-bolts.com. And we all three build cars. We all work on this stuff. And
I tinker.
You tinker.
I tinker.
Yes, we all build.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of a really cool multiple purpose fastener for me because there's all the science and all the technology, which is bottomless. Trust me. Unbelievable amount of research that they put into these things.
Absolutely.
And on top of it, you get them out of the package, and they're absolutely beautiful. Which I've joked before, it's like jewelry for your car. And when we're building when we're building a high end car, there isn't anything else going on it. It's part of the criteria for me to have them lining the engine bay, not just on the engine, everywhere.
Yeah. Right.
So you get all the strength, the durability, the reliability, and fantastic good looks.
Sure.
Kind of like Jeff here.
And without peer. Without peer.
And you know what?
Or pairs.
Without peer, there's nobody else that does what they do.
It is. So check them out at ARP-bolts.com, and they can help you out.
My first car was a 1956 Oldsmobile that I got some customization done, which was very, very hard in those days. Back in the East, number one, they didn't know, and I was learning everything from magazines out here.
So everything that you look at, and there's a lot of things from the taillights. A lot of people look at the taillights and go, wow, those Packard taillights. Well, they are a one-off handmade bezel. The lenses are 3D printed to resemble a Packard. So there's many things on that car that...
So is there a lot of stuff that's 3D printed on this car?
The taillights and the headlights.
Okay.
Those are 3D printed.
You're right.
So the trunk, you can't see from this picture, but the trunk with the Continental kit, the Continental kit's all recessed into the trunk.
All right.
And that's all just metal.
That's all metal.
The roof is all out of aluminum tubing, and then it's wrapped in a surfboard. It's actually shaped in a surfboard foam. And then it's wrapped in the canvas material.
0 to 100, back to zero in like 12 seconds.
Yeah.
So I said that to Shelby, and this was the funniest thing. And he goes, that was just Miles screwing around on the airport deal.
Really?
I don't know what the number is. It's just Miles telling me that was the number. So, and he did it with a stopwatch while he's driving. So I was like, whoa, I think it was 13.4. I think that's what it was.
Yes, and that's now set in lore.
Yes,
right. It's actually set in stone.
But Shelby said it was just Miles screwing around on the airport using a stopwatch. I was like, wow, good to hear that. That legendary stop
precision,
precision deal.
Precision timing.
And he's eating a taco, I think.
I got
it. Stopwatch, shifting, drying.
That's right. Dropping my groceries and getting punched by Shelby.
So anyway, so on the Chevy side, do you see something? I mean, I asked someone else this question. I'll ask you this question. Do you see a resurgence in Pro Street?
That's a great key. The resurgence is a great keyword there because we're seeing a resurgence in Pro Street, although it's a little bit different than it was before, where the cars are actually drivable because of the technology.
Right.
I'm seeing a lot of day 2 restorations coming out right now. I'm seeing a lot of gassers coming out right now too.
Yeah.
And Pro Touring is still big.
Yes.
All that stuff is still big, but it's neat to see guys. And we talked to somebody else earlier, and they said they're selling a lot of small block parts. Yeah, so a lot of guys are building small and carburetors.
Going back to carburetors and small block Chevys.
There's that word resurgence,
So
and we're seeing that.
It's that kind of almost like a backlash to the LS kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Everybody jumped on a certain thing, and so then it became saturated, and then it's like, well, I want to do something a little bit different. Well, that little bit different is a gasser, is a day 2 resto, and they're done really nice. And if you look at the wheels, high-end wheel companies are building Steely style wheels in 18 and 19, but they've added a lip to it so it looks like a 15. So it doesn't look as big as it is.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of hot rodding is the fact that when it was Mr. Peterson's definition, it's not narrow by any stretch of the imagination. It's very open-ended because you want to build what speaks to you.
Yeah.
And this interesting combination of pieces and parts and approaches, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
It's got a winner's quick change in it, so that's it's hot racing parts and
right.
And,
has that Bonneville influence there?
Yeah,
and the Dry Lakes.
Yeah, and Indy, because they all use those.
And
things.
Indy, sure, yeah.
And and the wheels are. I think I said the wheels are 18 and 16-inch IndyCar wheels.
Yeah,
so that kind of stuff is the influences that I still want it to be very traditional, traditional car, but with that racing kind of influence.
Yeah, and I started at a body
thing.
shop when I was 16, Corvette Place, and bought local collision shop that we did concours vets and bass boats and stuff. So I learned fiberglass before sheet metal.
Well, you obviously had the eye for it, and you obviously read all of Jeff Smith's articles. So
I looked at the pictures anyway, and
don't bother reading.
But yeah, I mean, growing up in the Midwest, in the middle of nowhere, the magazine guys was where. I mean, I just bought Gary Height's Hot Rod magazine collection personally from him, 12 boxes I just got 2 weeks ago.
Really?
So I'm kind of a magazine nerd, and so is Zane Cullen, and we collect stuff back and forth. And in my shop, I'm actually building a actual library. Here they are, all in order. Right. Yeah. Oh, my great uncle gave me all the Rod and Custom little pages.
That takes up a lot of space.
It does, yeah.
Well, you have just about every episode or every issue, don't you?
Hot Rod I have back to 64, and Carcraft I started reading it in 68. Okay. So that's where I started.
Okay.
I mean, I'm thinking about going backwards, but between those two magazines, I mean, you figure from 1964 to 2024 is, what is that? That's 60 years. We're not there yet, but pretty damn close. And it was a lot of weight to move when I moved, because I just recently got out. I escaped from California and moved back to Iowa.
Which I was originally from Illinois. I live in Tennessee now.
You live in Tennessee now? Yeah. And so it's like I've moved back to my roots because my granddaughter lives there, and that's where I want to.
Oh, I've been in California for 6 days. I'm ready to go home. Yeah. I've seen enough.
But so you're in Tennessee now. Do you do any media? You've got a podcast too, correct?
Well, I've been on a lot of guys' podcasts. We actually just bought our equipment.
Yeah.
And we're starting one. We don't even have the name. I'm going to record like 6 months worth of stuff and then put it out. But in 2 weeks, I'm recording I'm going to go towards a little bit more old school custom. Sure. My first interview will be Daryl Starbird.
I was doing really well in the production class, and then he proceeds to almost lap me on the road course. Just wipe the floor with me, and he had a tenth of the horsepower and a third of the weight, and then it was like, I need to learn from you. Yep. And he goes, you're doing this all wrong. You're approaching road racing like a drag racer. Don't do that. Work on the chassis, because he just walked away from me in the tight part of the course. So again, the point, there's a lot to learn from this guy. I don't really care about his car, but he knows something that I can learn from, and that was the big takeaway from that deal.
Sure.
So any car here we can learn from,
absolutely,
and take that and incorporate it and say, I'm gonna steal your idea. I'm gonna take your idea and I'm gonna change it a little bit and make it my own, and then I'm a hero. And people will go, "Where'd you come up with that?" It's like, wow, it's a creative process, because you talk to. Well, you're into music, so guitarists, right?
Theoretically,
So they all have their influencers. They all have, who influenced Jimi Hendrix, who influenced, all the famous guitarists,
and one of my
Eric Clapton, and
arguably one of the greatest, since I play bass, greatest bass players ever, Jaco Pastorius, has a quote that good musicians don't borrow, we steal.
You steal, sure.
You take that and then you make it your way.
And you make it your own, exactly. And you guys all do the same thing, building
absolutely.
cars.
Well, and
you don't even know you're doing it, though. A lot of times you don't even realize you've done it.
Yeah.
Or
because it's in your subconscious somewhere. It's been planted back there.
That.
And you pull that out and go, I'm going to use that. You don't think about where it came from. Yeah. And it came from somebody else doing something that wasn't exactly the same thing you're doing.
It's hard to be unique. You think you're the first to do it. Probably not.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it's the integration of all those ideas that make it really work.
Make it your style.
So is there a favorite one that you've done of all the stuff you guys have done so far?
I have.
That's like asking who's your favorite
child,
right?
I always want to say it's the next one. But, talking about Chevelles, there was something about recoil Chevelle we did. It was just funky seats and just, again, a customer that just kind of said, do what you do. And those are always fun. Yeah. But, no, you always feel like you missed it a little bit.
Okay.
And they're all meaningful stepping stones, but the passion's still there that you want to. I mean, you like all of them in a way, and you hate them all in a way. You know what I mean?
Really?
There's just something about You just wish you'd have done something different.
Okay. Yeah.
So
there always needs to be needs to be more time to
There's
do
nothing
something
as
different.
perfection. There's nothing perfect. I've never said we nailed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like just you learn, you're proud, but yet you're like, you walk away. I don't know if you feel that way, Steve, but
Yeah.
I do. You're just
I've been pleased.
sure.
But yeah, you know where all the evolutions need to be on the next one, and it would have been so cool if we could have
done this,
and the build just wouldn't allow it. The car was just not taking it,
Or you just didn't think of it.
or you didn't think of it till later,
It was
or
too late.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I so, and I'm sure you parallel. I love the creativity process.
Absolutely.
Love the creativity process and love that having it go from here to here and then it starts going together. And that idea you saw when I'm whatevering, designing, creating, I see things in my head like a slideshow. You know, I see front three quarter, I see rear, I see the how this is going to look in here. I see it. And then it's, okay, what do we got to do to do all those modifications to create that? And then when this car starts evolving and you start seeing it in real time in front of you, that slideshow, that's the exciting for me, that ideas becoming physical and reality. And I already apologize for tapping on the table.
The Paul Rossi rule. I saw Paul. He's here at the show. Yeah.
So, and I'm sure all of us kind of parallel. I'm sure you.
Yeah, and
you guys
maybe
get excited
that's
watching
that's
it.
part of it. Is like the adventure is building it, and maybe when it gets down to the end and it's over, it's just damn.
It's not anticlimactic.
No, it's just.
But once it's done, the high, the rush of the creation, it's created.
Right.
And now, for me, it's
time to move
on. Where's the next one?
Right.
What
is gonna,
how do I
what's
do
gonna
it?
Get that?
Yeah, you
heart
need that
rate
feeling
again.
of I'm creating it again. We're doing it's forming, and that's another thing that people, even people in the industry or the hobby of car at home, and they're fans of the stuff, and they enjoy watching or reading what you do and watching what we do. They have a different version because their version's like, this weekend I got the new carburetor I'm going to put on, and that's the new change, and it's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to a part, I think by default, we're so used to the evolution of creation that when we're not creating, it seems like a vacuum. It seems like an empty, like,
It was actually, I was actually getting a hold of it, but you'd watch the car and the front is doing this, the back is doing this, it's flopping all over the place. And the guy that was making the commentary over the other, that thing really needs a set of shocks. and no truer words were ever spoken. Yeah.
And
So
probably some brakes.
There's really the emphasis on that whole thing. Even if the thing is undersprung, a shock can make a huge difference. I mean, tires obviously number one, but right there on the number listed number two is a set of shock.
Yeah.
Somebody fired up a motor outside, I think is what's going on, because there's the show's going on around us, literally going around us. So if it sounds like this is some kind of vibration test, it probably is.
I thought this was an EV
I like
show.
it. And we're out.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. Get the hydrogen cars
Again,
out there.
this is free. That's what you get.
That's right. Yeah. You get all
So,
I like this. No one's
questions about that crystal ball?
You know what?
Move
Again,
along,
I've said
Spark
this
Plug.
before in other episodes. It's free. So
I've watched the show, and I've watched you promote ARP products.
Sure.
And it's no secret that we're all friends.
Sure. Yeah.
But most importantly, I've been using ARP products for a long time, and to be honest, for the aesthetic reason.
Yeah.
But a combination of aesthetic and, of course, there are strength applications. But, I mean, I have my 55 Chevy Cheese Whiz is 33 years old. And if you open the hood, which I had initially built it without ARP bolts, but everything under the hood is ARP, if you open the hood of that car, it looks like it was built last week. And you can't, an average bolt is going to corrode, et cetera, not to mention the aesthetic part of it, how pretty they are.
Yeah.
You had mentioned jewelry, and we were discussing some of the cars that we were looking at here at the show. And the fact that, and I understand people's frame of mind in this respect, but if you look at an ARP bolt, it's very, very distinctive. You know it's an ARP bolt.
Yeah.
But there are people that will look at that bolt and think, yeah, that's stuff of the future. Art Brain over here doesn't think that way. It's an attractive bolt that has no, I don't associate that with spacecraft. So you can use it on anything.
Yeah.
And actually, you can cosmetically alter it if you wish. Just look.
As some people do.
Really?
Yeah.
I have some that are glass beaded. I have some that are faced off. I have some that have a black coating similar to black oxide.
Yeah.
And again, there you go. To that many
And you
more
get choices
options
of
to use
6-point
it.
or 12-point, which gives different looks.
Absolutely, yes.
And we are doing some internal hex and some internal 12-point and some variations. We do some torques. We make some titanium product that is used in various places through the industry.
HRE wheels, the three-piece wheels.
Yeah,
so
they're
your
using a lot of titanium in their
titanium
wheels.
fasteners.
Yeah. We're at the Grand National Roadster show right now. And some of the best cars in the world are here at the Grand National Roadster show. And the aesthetic part that they were talking about, you can tie a whole car together with ARP bolts. It becomes part of that aesthetic. It ties everything together. It gives a consistency throughout the car.
I got a story absolutely fresh and 2 hours old. We're showing a car we have here is a car we built for Joe Rogan. It's a Nova. And I was showing a judge the car, popped open the trunk, and to show him inside because the trunk was closed for some photos. And there's a fuel cell in there and a bunch of other stuff that, of course, all ARP. And he went, you know what I really like that you carry the theme of the fastener throughout from the front of the car all the way to here. That's really attractive. So real world application of what he's saying. I just had a judge tell me that unsolicited 2 hours ago. He noticed the hardware, noticed we had it everywhere he had looked, and it gave the car cohesive. It was part of the thing. He went, wow, you don't have like super shiny bolts on the engine in the back here or whatever. He had noticed that and made a point of telling me so. So very, very true. Extremely true.
Yeah, and I can point you to many examples. I mean, Troy Japan does it. I mean, it's on and on and on. All friends of ours in the industry.
Sure.
And some of the top cars that have ever been judged have had that continuity throughout the whole car.
I like that.
And it ties it all together.
I try to make sure my socks match even.
It's in that people don't have matching socks now. It's considered
off the rail
thing. Now, I always wear black socks, so it doesn't matter.
So do I. I just
one may be
still
short,
try to make
one
it
may
match.
be long, but when you think about hot rods, you think about, boy, I'm going to have to wrench on that when I get back. I've got to fix something when I get back. I've always.
Well,
got
you
to
could
fix
do it,
something.
and Jeff and I.
And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but we had none of that. None of it.
You can wrench on your car while you're driving it. Jeff and I drove all the way across the country picking up parts of a 55 Chevy 32 years ago.
Yeah, something like that had never been done at that time, though.
No.
The technology that's available today wasn't available then. You know as well as I do, 10-second cars were trailered everywhere.
Right.
You and Jeff took a 10-second car and drove it across the country.
I did. We did.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. That was back when they were all trailered everywhere. So
well, one of the things that Jeff and I...
It's not surprising that parts were falling off of the car.
Yeah, one of the things that Jeff and I talk about a lot is the fact that they devoted 18 pages in Hot Rod Magazine to that story. and they could have devoted an issue with the stories. There were so many stories that were left out. And Jeff, we had plenty more that we could tell at any given time about, the things that had happened on that trip. And then I had to go home.
So you had to drive it back?
I had to drive it home. And and that's funny too, when you consider the buildup and hype and everything about SEMA now. Oh yeah, I'm doing a SEMA build. Yeah, SEMA. I drove my car from LA, put it in the SEMA show, and then drove it from there home. It was just a stop on the way home.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
Especially a car that could run 10-second quarter miles. In all honesty, Scott had a traction problem.
Yeah, I just gotten out of the hospital.
A lot of men don't talk about that.
My knee was in a cast, and I couldn't shift a manual transmission, so I had to ask Rick to do it. And sometimes he'd be cranky and be like, "I don't want to shift that now," and I'd be like, "Come on."
Wow, it sounds like a lot of excuses.
I don't know. Ask the Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to ask the Magic 8
Did
Ball.
Scott have a lot of excuses?
Oh, God. You can't read it.
No, I can't.
Let me see.
I don't know.
Oh, God.
It says pork.
I need to go home. So we've learned the history of ARP and the continuity of socks, or something to do with socks, and that our wagon's faster. So, actually, this was
enlightening.
Sure, that's what that was. When Jeff comes back, it's going to be like, when your kids light the house on fire and you come back home. It's kind of what's happening. It's kind of what's happening in the living room right now. Anyway, so Scott Sullivan, the irrepressible Scott Sullivan. More big words. I know.
That's
it's
another big
horrible.
word.
Yeah, I know it is. And of course, Bob Flooring from ARP. And I, unfortunately, am Steve Strope signing off for Jeff Smith with Car Guy Confessions. No, he's over there.
Brought to you by ARP.
That's right. What's your website?
ARP-bolts.com.
There it is. ARP-bolts.com. Please go there and get something for your car. And really, please, honestly, come back again. We'd appreciate that.
I won't be here.
Yeah, don't hold this against Jeff.
See y'all. So we brought it out here for people to enjoy and see. Second owner car. Car was originally turquoise on turquoise, plain Jane Malibu, in amazingly clean shape. And now it's turquoise on like a white and turquoise interior I did. Designed with Eric Brockmeyer. Gabes did the interior. Of course, paint by Mick Jenkins, so it's shiny and beautiful.
Yep.
Good, straightforward, very, very relatable muscle car. Lots of people coming up to me. That's like my high school dream car.
Yeah,
right.
So
you said that.
Yeah, well, you have one. That was your high school. Anyway,
66. There you go.
So 511-inch big block with Webers.
Wow.
Carbureted.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
5-speed, Detroit speed, suspension, Willwood brakes, JRI coilovers.
So
it'll get out of its own way.
Yeah,
and of course, my favorite.
TKX.
Yes.
Yes.
No, it's not a new TKX.
Oh, it's not?
It's just a TKO.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Really? Okay.
Well, I started the cart, like a year and a half ago.
Before they introduced it.
What do you want from
Or
me?
right at.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So, but
acceptable.
vintage air, Dynamat, kicker sound system in it. So get in, turn the key, plenty of power. Really nice go down the road car. That really, really pleased with it. It came out and polished ET 5 spokes on it.
Yep.
Good straightforward car. But you know what? I got it's funny when I bring out a car like that. And this one's a great example. A lot of people, especially friends within the industry, are like, "Oh, I love this car," and I'm like, and I know it's around me at these shows, and there's just these double throwdown, engine covered twin turbos, which I've done cars at that level too.
Sure.
And I'm like, really? And they're like, no, that thing just, in 20 years from now, it's still going to look
well,
good. There's nothing to date
because
it.
it's a real car too.
Yeah, it is a real car.
I mean, I don't know how
the colors are pretty.
I don't know how you define that, other than I could jump in it and drive it to the grocery store if I wanted to.
What it is,
whereas an AMBR car, you wouldn't dare do.
It was at SEMA, and here it's relatable.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's a much better term.
And any fan of this stuff, it's relatable, and the engine's special enough to give it that. Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
when you got a big block with Webers, that's not very often, and I know why, because we had to fiddle
with
to
sync those.
Yeah, well, luckily I've got a absolute genius that every car he owns has Webers on it, so he's fantastic.
And speaking of relatable cars, like I walked over to the building real quick.
You mean the T70?
Yeah, that's very relatable.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. That caught my eye. I just wanted
Well, Scott Sullivan's got his 61 here.
Yeah,
not his
built
car.
for a customer.
Built for a customer. And I got a chance to see it for like 5 minutes.
It's always
just
amazing
a spectacular
colors,
car.
almost always super
So
tasteful
409, 4-speed. And because he was calling me ahead of time going, we got a flat tappet camshaft in this thing. How do we break it in? And so I was doing some stuff. I said, I'm going to tell you a bunch of stuff. You're going to hate me because I'm telling you to take the inner springs out, and soften it up. And so it was fun to see the car in live in person, and it's just.
And his usage of colors.
Oh, yeah.
And how he alters little things in the dash and just, bottomless, tasteful.
And like,
things.
He pulled the rear license plate in and put a panel.
Put a panel around
it. Yeah. And because somebody was asking me, it's like, is that stock? No, that's not stock. No. And he probably fit the bumper to the body and all those things that you don't, if you don't pick out.
Scott is the king of 2%.
Yeah.
2%. And I remember an interview, and I thought it was with you in Hot Rod or a quote, but he said something along the lines of, I go out of my way to spend 1,000 hours to do something you're never going to notice. You're never going to see. And I agree with that, because if it looks like it belongs there, then as a designer or engineer or fabricator, you did your job right, because it mends into the scenery properly instead of neon pink wing. Clearly that didn't come with it.
Right, exactly.
Well, and
because we see cars
your style. I mean, this is definitely your kind of style.
Oh,
That's exactly what you do with your cars.
I've said in a million interviews and stuff that I was really, really inspired by Scott Sullivan when I was younger, and he had his the first Nova, the tub car,
the 66 car,
right? Yeah. And then of course Cheese Whiz, and then I remember I swear I was in Canfield, and I'm on the one end of the field, and if you remember in Canfield, everybody went through registration and came across the back of that. The bleachers for the horse track, right?
And you came in right there.
And you came in through here, and then you went to wherever in the field you're going to sit. And I'm way over here. You can see the grandstand, the back of it over here, and I see this black 57 slinking around the corner. And it's just all sorts of, I don't care if I swear, it's all sorts of fucking badass. I mean, I went, that's Scott Sullivan. Yeah. And there's no way it's not Scott Sullivan.
Yeah, just by the stance.
And it was a black 57 with polished torque thrust, and that thing just looked evil every 6 ways from Sunday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's Scott Sullivan. Sure enough, he pulls up with a shit-eating grin. And then he opened the hood, and he had that
Super
palm trees on acid.
Yep.
Is what he called
the Super
what he called the airbrushing, and the motor's like this crazy colors.
And it had some turquoise in it because the interior was turquoise.
Well, he had that doily interior, the factory, totally stone stock, except for like 22 speakers hidden all over the place.
Yeah. That was a crazy
king
car.
Of subtle,
yes,
but it's not subtle. Mm-hmm. It's in your face.
Yeah.
But subtle, and all his tasteful stuff. So, I definitely really enjoyed that style.